The contemplation of celestial things will make a man both speak and think more sublimely and magnificently when he descends to human affairs.
The Interplanetary Podcast. The exploration of space for the benefit of all mankind. Your hosts here in London, Matthew Russell and Jamie Franklin.
Do you know what, Matt? That's so true, because I think that us folk who look up into the heavens, correct me if I'm wrong, but we tend to look at things on Earth a little bit differently.
Big time.
I mean, you can't do it every day, let's be honest.
No,
But I think when you're staring in a telescope at Jupiter, like a massive geek, I think when you stop doing that, I think you realise that when it's cold outside and you've got to go and get some more milk and you're a bit annoyed about it, it's not that big a deal.
Well, particularly right now when you look up into the icy cold sky and you see the moon just hanging there and you go, God, no, that was worth coming outside in the cold and going to get the shops, wasn't it?
Totally was.
Yes.
Absolutely beautiful. So how have you been, Matt?
I've been very well. I should tell you who that quote was by the way.
Oh, yeah, who?
It was Marcus Tullius Cicero, or Cicero. Who knows? Because we don't know how people in the ancient times pronounce words. Yeah, 30 BC. Yeah. There we go.
Do you think we'll get corrected on that pronunciation?
Well, you can't do. Even if we do, I'm not taking it. do.
Yeah.
So Jamie, I've got an interview lined up for today that you couldn't be part of. And why couldn't you be part of it?
Well, I've just, I just had to hop over to Marrakesh just to see how they're getting on over there.
Nice.
And they're fine.
Good.
Yeah, they're absolutely fine. What a great place. Great people, great country. And it was nice to see some sun, Matt. You know?
Yeah, that I am a little bit jealous.
Nice.
Yeah, we definitely had very contrasting weeks, I think.
We did, yeah.
This is the interviews with ESA's Giorgio Tumino, who is the head. He's the head of the Vega and Space Rider development programs.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm gutted that I missed it. How was it? Was he a nice guy?
A very nice guy, very informative. He's extremely high up in ESA, and the Space Rider is a really, really interesting program, and it's kind of, as you'll hear, it's a sort of in between being a space plane like the X-37 and things like that, and being like a capsule. So it's kind of somewhere. Right. It's like a sort of halfway house kind of thing, and really, really
bit of a hybrid.
And it should be. We should see its first flight next in a couple of years. In a couple of years' time. So that should be nice. should be great. So I'll play that. We'll play that interview slightly later on.
Okay.
What should we open up with? We should. The funniest story of the week, I think, that broke just after we finished last week's podcast, which was
Go on, then.
Elon Musk launching his own car into deep space.
Oh yes. Yes, and not just that, man.
Yeah, what's it playing on the radio?
He's only going to be playing God on the radio.
David Bowie on his Midnight Cherry.
Circling Mars.
Yeah, but
Midnight Cherry.
I've been driving my Midnight Cherry Teleroaster.
Midnight Cherry does sound like a Bowie song.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, respect. Oh, I miss him. Well, I'll tell you what, he's had quite the week as well, hasn't he?
Who, Musk?
Because... Well, what about Boeing?
Oh, yeah, Boeing have...
coming in with, puffing up their chests.
And going, we're going to beat you to Mars.
They're going to get to Mars first.
Yeah.
And Mars replies, well, go on then.
Did you say Mars or
Musk? Sorry. Oh, I don't know.
It's the same thing, same difference,
yeah,
isn't it, really?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so Boeing, well, of course, and they're alluding to the fact that the first men on Mars will be people riding the SLS. But... Yeah. It has to be said, there was one tweet that was flying around by Eric Berger, and it starts like this: an unbiased industry source spitballed tonight that the first SLS launch will probably come around 2023. Now,
yeah, I was going to say, it's not that soon.
That's disastrous. I mean, if that is true, that is big trouble for the whole program, I would imagine.
Well, completely.
And we won't.
I mean, it's not as if they're going to do it on their first go.
Yeah, and so the earliest we could possibly see manned flight would be for another 10 years. Wouldn't be for 10 years, unless Orion flew up on something like a Delta IV. Oh, it's just crazy. So
I think I think they've had a bit of a rush of blood to the head.
yeah, maybe. But then Musk, to be fair, hasn't even built his BFR.
Oh, he's the king of rush of bloods. However, the difference is he does seem to get there
Eventually.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
It was interesting what David Baker said last week about the delays with NASA are about the same as the delays with SpaceX and everything else, but the perception just isn't the same, is it? It's quite odd.
Yeah, that's very true.
So anyway, this car that he's launching to Mars, he's actually launching it to Mars. Now, I got a bit confused because I thought he was going to put it in orbit around Mars, but there was an astronomer called Phil Plate who phoned Musk, and Musk confirmed that actually it was going to go orbiting around the Sun, but come as close to the Sun as Earth and as far out as Mars. So it's in this kind of weird elliptical orbit that is, at its nearest point Earth-like and at its furthest point Mars-like.
Say that again. So it's close to the Sun as
Earth at its nearest point, and as far out as Mars as its furthest point. So it's elliptical, basically. So it's
wow.
Yeah, it will be like that for billions of years. This stupid Tesla flying around the solar system, which reminds me of my uncle Bertrand Russell's teapot.
Yeah,
that's out that's in orbit. No one can prove that it's not there.
I'm a big fan of Elon's, but I do kind of think, why are you doing this?
No, because
you know what I mean.
I mean, I understand it because
how much money does it cost to send a car into space?
Yeah, but he's got to put something on the Falcon Heavy, and as he points out, it's very
me.
No.
You should put me on there. I weigh far less than a Tesla.
Okay, no.
I can still sing. Bowie.
Yeah, you could sing all the way, couldn't you? But okay, let me quote this Musk quote first before
Go
you.
on then.
Just bear in mind that there is a good chance that this monster rocket blows up. So I wouldn't be. Well, so,
oh my God.
so I wouldn't put anything of irreplaceable sentimental value on it. What do you think?
That was... Well, we just talked about hybrids, and that was a hybrid of accents.
I know.
You went from Welsh to Brummie to Indian very quickly. I didn't catch any South African.
No, it was very good, wasn't it?
Wow.
Pretty much identical to how he talks. But
it's the same,
but after hearing that, would you put yourself on this rocket?
Yeah, maybe I'll take
the next one.
I'll take the next.
Take mission
one,
2.
Yes.
Mission 2.
Yeah. Okay. Just in case.
So another story I absolutely loved this week as well was that NASA has fired up the thrusters on Voyager 1.
Really?
Yeah. So basically, the Voyager spacecraft have got 2 sets of thrusters: the attitude control thrusters, or ACT, and the trajectory correction maneuver thrusters, or the TCMs. And they've been using the ACTs to kind of steer the Voyager, for want of a better word, around. But the ACTs are starting to kind of not be so good, and the thrusters have probably worn out. So they thought, well, let's go back to, let's see if we can use the TCMs as a way of keeping the Voyager so that it's flying in such a way that it can communicate with Earth. So they sent off a signal to reactivate these thrusters, and that signal, travelling at the speed of light, it took 19 hours 35 minutes to get to the spacecraft. I mean, that's impressive, isn't it?
That's really impressive.
And then they had to wait the same amount of time for the signal to come back to show that it had worked. And after 37 years of not being used, they fired up, and it looks like it's all good. Can you believe that?
That is nuts.
And not so.
Do you reckon it's like, when them old radiators that just gather dust in them, and then you turn them on and it just smells of air and horribleness? Do you reckon it was a bit like that?
I can't think of anything that I could switch on after 37 years that's still going to work.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's phenomenal, that is. And, so I think that's extended Voyager 1's lifetime by at least 3 years. So that's pretty cool, isn't it?
That's very cool. They must have loved that.
Yeah. I mean, Voyager just is the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it?
Really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our mate's Rocket Lab, who was supposed to be flying up old Bob Richards, that was was supposed to launch yesterday, I think, or last night, but that probably will launch on Sunday. It's got a 10-day window open for launch, so that's going to be really interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I just, rattling through the news here. One news story that's a pretty good one is the first black astronaut has been honoured on the 50th anniversary of his death.
Robert Lawrence Jr.
Robert Lawrence Jr., or Air Force Major Robert Lawrence Jr., who was tragically killed in a plane crash on December the 8th, 1967.
God, that's 50 years.
Exactly 50 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was part of a classified military space program in the 60s. And unfortunately, he crashed his F-104 Starfighter when he was 32. And this, Robert Crippen, who was the pilot of the first space shuttle in 1981, he said at this massive gathering at the Kennedy Space Center to commemorate, he basically said, that he was definitely on the fast track and would have gone on to fly the space shuttle, etc., etc. He had a doctor's degree in physics and chemistry, and he was a test pilot. So this guy was like super intelligent and super ace in a plane. So he was the creme.
God damn!
La creme
What a shame.
de la creme. But yeah,
well, a real shame. But let's tip some caps to Robert Lawrence Jr. today.
Absolutely. So this is our interview with Giorgio Tumino, the head of the Vega and Space Rider development programs. Écoutez. Hello, Giorgio. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Matt. Good afternoon.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background before we get into space planes?
Surely, yes. I am an aerospace engineer from the University of Rome, La Sapienza. Then after my master degree in aerospace, I joined the European Space Agency in the Netherlands. So I spent around 7 years in the Netherlands, then working in the Technical and Quality Management Directorate in areas like aerothermodynamics, propulsion, high-temperature materials. Then in 2004, I left the establishment of the European Space Agency in the Netherlands, and I moved to the ESA headquarters in Paris. And that's where I joined the Future Launchers Preparatory Program at that time that had the objectives, among others, to define the intermediate experimental vehicle mission, so a demonstrator for hypersonics technologies. And from that moment, I led basically the conception, the definition, the design, the development, qualification up to flight. And so I've been, let's say, the project manager of that development up to mission director also of the mission implementation, which was successfully concluded in a perfect flight in 2015. So after that, I moved to another establishment of the European Space Agency in Italy, where I'm currently, let's say, sitting, which is the ESRIN, the European Space Research Institute, to manage the Vega and Space Rider program. So I'm actually in charge of the new Vega developments and the Space Rider development as well.
Can you tell us a little bit about the background of space planes at ESA?
Yes. When we talk about space planes, in fact, we always have to distinguish the objective of a space plane with respect to capsules. In fact, ESA has been involved in both the space plane and capsules development in the past. And the main difference between space planes and capsules is the capability that you have when you re-enter from orbit to perform, let's say, precision landing and smoother landing profiles in terms of environment. And in this sense, you might remember that the first challenge ESA took on the space planes was at the end of the 80s with the Hermes space plane that then was abandoned. And after that, we have had the ARD capsule that has flown at a certain point. And after that, we started with the development of the IXV, Intermediate Experimental Vehicle, which was also a space plane. And the main difference is in the shape. The difference between a spaceplane and a capsule is the fact that you have the lifting capability throughout the re-entry hypersonic flight up to landing. And with the lifting capability, you can modulate your control so that you can perform a precision landing and a smoother re-entry profile. And so in terms of spaceplane, if you really tell me what is the most concrete output of the agency result in terms of mission, is definitely the IXV mission, which was flown in February 2015. And on that mission, which was the IXV mission, we are now building the Space Rider, which is in fact a spaceplane which is building on the IXV, as composed by two modules. The first module is the re-entry module, exactly, let's say, a modified version of the IXV, which has flown in 2015, and an orbital service module, which is derived from a modification of the upper stage of Vega C under development, also under my responsibility. So we are putting together these two components, so Vega C and IXV, to make up the Space Rider mission in an optimized fashion. These allow us to maximize the payload to orbit and to reduce development and recurring costs, so really to have a very effective European product.
What are the sort of things that you would use that kind of lifting body type spacecraft rather than the normal traditional spacecrafts that we normally see? Because I can see all around the world that quite a few people are building lifting body spacecraft, but what job can they do that other spacecraft can't?
Take the two extremes. The two extremes is, one is the capsule, and on the other extreme you have the shuttle type, the winged vehicles, what we call winged vehicles, like the space shuttle, okay, or like the X-37, for example, that the Americans are flying today. So these are two extremes. On one side you have the capsule, which have a very low controllability and very low maneuverability, but they have a very high reliability because they have. It's quite a simple design, and it's not subject to big failure. Although there are also failure occurred with the capsules, but it's quite reliable. On the opposite side, you have the winged bodies like the space shuttle. This is very complex, very highly controllable, very highly maneuverable. But sometimes you have had problems due to the complexity of the system, and we know that there have been some problems with the space shuttle missions. And at the end, the reason why you use these wings is really the last few minutes to approach the runway. So this is, let's say, the added value provided by the wings, and therefore. When we had to define the concept of the IXV, we agreed that following a deep assessment of all the possible configurations, the so-called lifting body was the optimal because it could increase by one order of magnitude the controllability and maneuverability with respect to the capsule, so increasing in the direction of a space shuttle type, but without the wings, to avoid the complexity induced to these wings that at the end you need only for the last 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the mission. So, and the lifting body is basically, if you know the shape of the IXV, which will be similar to the Space Rider 1, is a shape that does not have wings, but it is designed in such a way that can create lift on its own. So basically you have the possibility to use the body shape to generate lift that you will use for control and maneuvers, but without having the criticality of the wings. So increasing maneuverability, controllability, maintaining the reliability of the capsule. So it's an optimal design that we have found and that we are pursuing also with the Space Rider mission. In fact, the IXV mission was completely flawless. We had a fantastic result in terms of data, performances, precision, landing, and so on. So it's really a compromise. It's an ideal compromise between the two extremes, which are capsules and wing bodies.
So it falls kind of squarely somewhere in the middle between those two ideas.
Yes. Yeah, in the two extremes, as I said, the capsule has advantages like reliability, but strong disadvantages in terms of controllability and maneuverability. on the opposite side, the winged vehicles like the space shuttle have positive aspects like controllability and maneuverability down to landing, but reliability is, let's say, linked to complexity, which is not, let's say, ideal because it's too complex. So we are somewhere in between, trying to maximize what is good from the capsule and what is good from the winged vehicles, reducing, let's say, the disadvantages of both configurations. So we're somewhere in the middle, an optimal compromise to have excellent performances at limited risk.
Is the idea for this extra manoeuvrability really for the sort of descent stage? Is that so that you can get the capsule back to Earth and the experiments, presumably, that it's been carrying back to Earth and quickly establish contact with it rather than it falling in the ocean somewhere or falling in a desert? Is that the idea?
Yes, the idea is the following. The IXV mission was performed with a full re-entry path over the Pacific Ocean for a reason of safety, and also because it was the first time that we were performing an hypersonic flight with a lifting body. So the decision was to land on the sea to minimize the safety constraints, because when you fly several tons of hardware, you cannot fly over a populated region, especially when you do it the first time. But so the IXV was had the objective to test in flight hypersonic re-entry technologies like thermal protection system, advanced guidance, navigation and control algorithms, aerothermodynamics phenomena, and so on. But it was all necessary for reusability. So all this was fundamental to address reusability. But the reason why we splashed down in the ocean was to avoid to simplify the safety part. So to test in flight reusable technologies, but not to be reflown the vehicle itself. Now with Space Rider, we are doing the step ahead. So basically, we are targeting a ground landing, so to land on ground, so that the re-entry module can be reflown up to 6 times. So this is, let's say, the step ahead with respect to the IXV. So they both will have on board very similar, if not identical, technologies. But one was just for in-flight testing, while the other one will be actually reflown. So it is really taking these as key objective. The idea is really to reflight 5 times plus the maiden flight, so 6 times in total.
Wow. And when will we see, do you think, the first Space Rider enter service?
So what we are working at the moment is, so we are finalizing the requirements review. So we are doing the system requirements review, and which is moving ahead quite smoothly. We have already signed the contract with industry, as you might have heard from the latest news, on to arrive already at the critical design review. So basically completing all the design phase by 2019, so in 2 years. And after that, we believe that we will be ready with other 2 years to have the maiden flight taking place. So 2021.
Are there any big technological hurdles that you have to get over before you can get to that entering service point? Or most of that work being done with ARD and the XIV?
With respect to technologies, the key re-entry technologies have been mastered. So we do not, I'm quite confident that we don't have, let's say, issues on the key critical technologies. It is really what will be, let's say, the key objective is to make the system as much as possible reusable. So once you reuse one technology, you need to be sure that you maintain the same reliability. Mm-hmm. Therefore, this is something that we are focusing on to try to make the system as much as possible reusable, with the need to minimize the replacement of some hardware. And so I think really the key is in this sense, with the objective to minimize the replacement of specific hardware and maximize the reusability. Because for the rest, the technologies are available, and I don't see any showstopper at technology level.
Wow! And what sort of payloads and what kind of missions will the Space Rider go on?
The Space Rider will perform basically two type of key missions, if we want to simplify it. The first one is microgravity experimentation, because the Space Rider, being a free flyer, will have a very advanced microgravity environment, because there will be no disturbances of any sort, and so it will be really flying freely around the Earth. And so it can provide a lot of, let's say, advantageous environment to experiments for microgravity. And we have already been contacted also by, let's say, commercial customers that would have an interest to exploit this option. And then, in addition to that, we have also the second, let's say, line of activity in orbit is in-orbit validation, in-orbit demonstration of technologies for multiple applications, and for Earth observation, for telecommunication, science, robotic exploration. And so the fact that you can have a space laboratory that brings your hardware into flight, into space, and can operate the hardware in the payloads into space, and then the system can allow you to get back your hardware in your laboratory to understand what was the impact of space into the technology is quite unique. So we are building also in this sense to have a payload bay which allow extensive in-orbit validation, in-orbit demonstration of all these technologies. And in terms of capacity, we are targeting 800 kilograms of payload for a cargo bay which is nearly 1 cubic meter. So it's quite, let's say, a lot of potential in this, especially considering the fact that it will be certainly a competitive, let's say, cost per kilogram of payloads. So we are quite happy of the current design that is already allowing for this potential. And so this will also allow us to, let's say, capture institutional market, so not only commercial market, but also institutional market.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the commercial market out there, are there any other vehicles around the world that are being developed that are similar to the Space Rider? Or is the Space Rider unique in the fact that it does kind of fall between this capsule and spaceplane design?
I can say that the Space Rider, I mean, one could assimilate the Space Rider mission on a sort of X-37 type of mission, but there is a big difference to it. That X-37 is for defense purposes, military applications, so we don't know what they really do into space, while in our case, our objective will be fully civilian, and you will always know what we are flying. So it is, let's say, the mission profile, I can say, might seem to be similar, but in our case, we will do it for civilian applications. Then there are other initiatives, yes, that could be similar, but maybe of a larger scale, like the Dream Chaser in America. And yes, but we believe that one complements each other, the other. And in the sense of Space Rider, we believe that having the capability that we have with the cost that we plan to cope with, it's quite competitive. So it's let's say, it well fits the overall worldwide competition.
Where does the Vega fly from when Space Rider flies, and where will it land?
As you know, we would take off on board of Vega, because it's an integrated space transportation with Vega C in particular, and we will we'll lift off from the CSG, the Centre Spatial Guyanaise in French Guiana. And then, let's say, the reference standard mission is to go up to 400 kilometers altitude, and there we'll operate the payloads for the time needed, so it can stay for months into orbit. And then at a certain point, the The orbital service module will command the deorbiting maneuver, so it will push in the opposite direction to get deorbiting the whole system. Then they separate. The orbital service module will destroy, while the reentry module with all the payloads on board lands on ground. And today the baseline for landing is Santa Maria in the Azores as, let's say, baseline possibility. We are also looking at alternative landing sites, but let's say our reference today is Santa Maria, the island of Santa Maria in the Azores.
Yeah, I saw one. I did see the IXV at STEC. I think that was the drop article. Do you know where the one that flew perfectly? Where's that now based? Can people go see it?
The other one, yes, it's based in Turin at this moment. It's close to the premises of Thales Alenia Space, which is which was the prime of the IXV and which is the co-prime now of the Space Rider mission, together with the ELD and Avio. So we joined the two forces. They work together. And so since they will build on the experience of the IXV, for the re-entry module of Space Rider, they have it in-house at their premises.
Is that able to be viewed by the public, or is that?
Yes, it is. It has been shown also at Le Bourget Air Show just after the mission. So if you were in Paris at that occasion, you could touch it, and then yes, it's anyways it's possible to organize. Let's say a visit within limits. Yeah. I mean, we cannot bring thousands of people to see.
I think I'll have to get myself down to Turin to have a look at it. It sounds like a really exciting mission. It's one that you don't hear about at all over here in Britain. I'm assuming that there are British companies involved. Yeah, what nations are involved actually with this particular project? But
there are involved several nations, including UK, and so it is not true that UK does not participate. UK participates, and actually UK wishes to. Let's say, support the program even more on the technological side, because there are several, let's say, activities ongoing in UK, like Skylon and so on. So I believe that these fits UK's big picture to, let's say, to develop along those lines. And there are several countries, I mean, you name it. There is UK, of course, there is Italy, there is France, there is Belgium, there is Switzerland. There are really more than 10 countries participating to the program.
Right. Well, I'll do my best to blow the trumpet for it, because I mean it's one of those things that even on Wikipedia it's still known as the Pride mission rather than the Space Rider mission. So someone needs to update that.
I do not. Yes, I do not take care of updating Wikipedia. Yeah, because, yes, it should be updated. Correct.
And now I've got one last question for you, Giorgio, and that's my son's 14 and he's very, very much into space, and I think he wants to work in the space industry as an engineer. I'm wondering if you've got any advice to him or anything that he can follow in your footsteps.
I mean, if he really loves the space, then he should continue. I think kids shall really invest on what they really like and what they really love. So if he really loves this type of application, he only has to study and get graduated as soon as possible, and then eventually join either industry or agencies working in this field. And I'm sure that if he is motivated and positively stubborn on the goal he wants to achieve, he will surely achieve any goal he has in mind. So studying engineering is certainly, let's say, maybe the most straightforward way, but we also have in the sector employed physicians, people who have worked in chemistry. So, but of course, I mean, aerospace engineering, mechanical engineering, aeronautical engineering in general is, let's say, maybe the most straightforward one to really do let's say, my job at the end.
Fantastic, and I hope you've had fun doing your job. Sounds like you've travelled a lot.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us, Giorgio.
Thank you very much for the interest in the program, and I will be available for any update in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. How interesting is that?
Super cool. And also, fun, Matt, because Vega was always my favourite baddie in Street Fighter 2.
It's also my favourite way of determining where I am in the night sky with the summer triangle, particularly in summer.
Beautiful.
I can spot Vega pretty easily and then find my bearings. It's good. A chap called Humphrey Smith has written in this letter. It was an email. No one writes on letters anymore.
Yeah. Come on, Grandad.
He goes, what if Andromeda was made of antimatter and collided with the Milky Way?
Whoa. That is deep. That is deep space.
So, to quickly clear this up, right? Yes, if Andromeda was to collide with the Milky Way, and it was made of antimatter, then yes, there'd be an almighty flash.
Yeah.
And actually, Humphrey has put in the calculations. He's basically got the mass of Andromeda and the mass of Milky Way, added them together, and then used E equals mc squared to come out with the fact that the energy released would be 5.39 times 10 to the power 53 megajoules. I don't know. I've not redone those calculations, but that sounds
I think that's
like
right. I'm just going over it in my head. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
that's about right. I reckon.
Yeah.
But I don't think that any galaxy is made of antimatter. And the reason why I say that is if it was, and you had these collisions, they would be a lot brighter than even the brightest quasars that we see out in the observable universe. So it seems like it's not happening. And of course, if Andromeda or any of the local galaxy group were made of antimatter, then the kind of filaments of the interstellar medium, basically the intergalactic medium, would be is still touching and still interacts, and we'd be seeing flashes of energy there, giving off X-rays and all sorts of nonsense. So it's highly unlikely, because we would see the interaction, I think, at the kind of edges of where the different galaxies are all interacting with each other. And maybe, you see, the only other thing is that maybe they don't interact with each other, and that antimatter can act as a kind of anti-gravity as well, so that they're repelled. But if that was the case, then the measurements that Andromeda is slowly collapsing towards us probably isn't true. Well, it doesn't make sense, because the measurements say Andromeda is coming towards us and that we are going to merge with Andromeda at some point. So it doesn't look like that explanation works either. So I think, really, we're going to have to say it's not very likely that Andromeda is made of antimatter, and if it was, we would see the evidence of it. It's a good job it isn't, really. That's all I'm saying.
I like that, Matt. I think you've done good homework there. And thank you, Humphrey.
Thank you, Humphrey. Keep writing them in. We'll try and cover the subject correctly. I mean, it would have been nice to have someone like Jim Al-Khalili or someone like that helping us with answering that.
We should put that question out. If there's any of our ESA mates listening, or our mates from the States, could somebody offer an explanation, please, as to what Matt has just said? Is he correct? Do you challenge it?
Yeah, maybe.
More importantly, do you think that if I do go to Mars one day, which I believe is the case, that my pant size will be interstellar medium? Because I don't know if Calvin Klein make... I mean, it would need to be a different material on Mars, wouldn't it?
All that matters is that it covers Uranus.
Oh, you went there. Oh, Matt, would you like a space fact?
Yeah, go on then.
Do we have a jingle yet?
No jingle.
We need to get a jingle. Can someone send us in our space fact jingle?
Space fact jingle.
Okay, you ready, Matt?
Do it.
The moon looks bigger on the horizon.
It's crazy, this one.
What do you think about that?
It's one of my favourite. It's one of my favourite things to talk about, because the moon just looks bigger than it is anyway. As in, when you look at the moon, it looks big to the human eye. For some reason, we see it being big. But as soon as you hold up like something small to it, you realise how small an area of the sky it's actually taking up. How many few arc seconds, as they say, it takes up. And it's just really, really fascinating. And the weird thing is, as the moon goes down towards the horizon, it looks bigger and bigger and bigger. And no one really knows why that is. There's quite a few sort of some explanations, like when it's near the horizon, you have other objects that you can use as a reference to. So therefore, it looks much bigger because you can see trees in the distance, and then you can see the moon's much bigger than the trees, and things like that. But that apparently doesn't fully cover the whole. The whole thing, because it even looks bigger when you don't have another frame of reference there. It was one of the very first episodes of The Sky at Night, I believe, where Patrick
But is not
Moore...
the Earth? But is not the Earth the frame of reference? Because it's when it's on the horizon. Obviously, it's being blocked by our planet.
Yeah, I know, but but there's no frame of reference, is there, really, for that? But on the very first Sky at Night, I believe Patrick Moore did the moon illusion, where he basically held up a disc and proved that no matter where it was in the sky, it was the same size. And I think it's really, really fascinating. I'll tell you a really good way to actually see it for yourself is to look up at the sky, and whenever you notice a really big moon, get out your camera and then take a photograph of it with your phone camera and realise how tiny the little dot is.
Yeah.
When you look at it on your screen, it's like, how come it's not showing really, really big on my screen? And this actually leads me to one of my things that really, really annoys me. Is this, and it happens every 6 months. We get the news story about the supermoon, the supermoon, and it's like, it's the most annoying. Well, I don't know. At least it gets people looking at the moon, but it's like
I sometimes look at the photos and I'm thinking that's got to be photoshopped. It's like. Really?
It's what people have done is used a really long focal length and then taken a picture so the moon looks really massive against objects that are very, very far away. That's okay. I mean, that's just a sort of photographic trick. But it's not because the moon there is, literally most people would not be able to perceive that the moon is any bigger when it's a supermoon than when it's any other moon. Yeah, it's slightly bigger when it's slightly nearer, but it's so minimal that there's no way you can really tell the difference. So this whole idea of the supermoon is slightly over the top and, if not slightly irritating. And I'm not the only one, by the way. It seems that
we've offended any supermooners out there.
Yeah,
hey, Matt, do you know what I think's more exciting than the supermoon?
Yeah.
The blood moon.
Blood
moon. That for me is cool.
And every now and then you get a blue moon.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
Literally, once in a blue moon, there is a blue moon.
I saw you standing alone.
I'm always alone, Jamie.
Oh.
Like Captain Kirk, I know that I'll die alone.
You won't, Matt. You won't. I'll be there with you. And I'll be like, before you go, Matt, could you just once more tell me about Antimatter and Andromeda?
Okay.
And you'll be like, I'm a bit ill. I just can't. I can't now.
Anyway, let's wrap this baby up. Let's wrap this baby up.
Let's do it.
It's the Interplanetary Podcast. Putting the ace back into space.
Hi-yo. That's what they were chanting in Morocco.
So it's time for you to make your way over to iTunes and leave us a lovely 5-star review.
All you have to do is ask yourself this question. Did you enjoy this podcast? If you did, then why not hop over to iTunes? That's all we're saying.
And if you didn't, write us an email about why you didn't.
Yeah, and we will block you. And no, we won't.
We'll write you a really snarky response. No, we won't. That's ridiculous. It would be ridiculous.
And also keep sending us in. We love when we get feedback
I like that
and
letter.
Questions.
I like the letter.
Keep sending it in. Yeah, good work, Humphrey
Smith. You didn't tell us what country he was from. Never mind.
Well, Matt, you have a good day.
No, Jamie, you have a good day.
You, listener, have a good day.
Listeners, have a good week. Have a good week.
Have a great week. Christmas is coming, you know. And if we're not all dead from a meteorite skimming Earth, then we're going to have a great New Year. So keep positive.
Thanks for that,
yeah.
Jamie. Yeah,
No, it's very, very positive.
That's it then.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.